Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dayton Drama Queens.
Welcome,
Josh. It's
Look
good
at this
to see you.
studio.
We got to take this in.
This is an upgrade.
Brand new studio,
Yeah.
brand new furnishings. Thank you to Mitosis.
Thanks, Mitosis,
In
and
downtown
thanks
Dayton.
for watching. I mean, that's kind of making this possible because people like us.
They like us. We're in the second season, already planning our third season with maybe some live remotes.
I was going to say maybe on
I
location.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
We'll
Love
see.
it. Speaking of on location, we have somebody with us today. You're not going to believe who we landed for this podcast. Brandon Ragland from the Dayton Ballet is here.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
How did you end up here?
Well, I moved from Louisville, Kentucky, where I was dancing with the Louisville Ballet for 13 years, and I retired from performing.
Wow.
Yes, I know dancers say retired, but we're not really retired.
Yeah, and you're like 20.
Yeah. I retired from performing in April of 2023, and I was trying to figure out my next step. I always knew I wanted to be an artistic director of a ballet company. That was like my dream job. So I started to kind of apply really just for experience.
Yeah.
And I heard about the directorship at Dayton Ballet being open. And I said, why not? We'll see what happens. And June of 2023, here I am.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
And you know, the ballet has such a great reputation.
Yeah.
I mean, for a small city to have this kind of ballet, what have you found in Dayton that you're just loving about the city?
You know what's interesting and what I love about it is that it supports the arts so much. I mean, I was just saying this the other day that Ohio is one of the few states that have very well supported large dance companies, and two right here in Dayton, you know, with Dayton Ballet and Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. And they are well known and very enriched in the dance culture globally. Yeah. So to be right here in Dayton, surrounded by a lot of arts and culture, is really it feels like a safe place for me and a creative space for me.
For sure.
To be around other creatives as well and to be supported, you know, to have a city that supports that kind of arts community. So
yeah, I think that we also like really pride ourselves on being so collaborative. That's what I love about the shift to DPAA, joining the ballet and the opera and the Philharmonic and everything. So I'm sure you work closely sort of with all of those entities.
Yes,
at DPAA.
And all of our planning, strategic planning, artistic planning, administrative planning, all of that happens together. So, for instance, all three artistic directors. So, you know, like last year, Kathleen, Neil Gittleman, and myself, we got together and we said, well, what are the things that we want to accomplish as an organization artistically together? Through each of our different art forms, how do we want to convey that? But then also, what do we want to do together?
Yeah,
I mean, and that's pretty awesome in and of itself. For instance, you know, we get to give dancers the opportunity to be a part of AIDA. You know?
Yeah, we were just talking about that at breakfast.
And how many ballet dancers can say that they have the opportunity to be a part of these operas that do have ballet as part of the story? In the production, which is really cool, as well as the ballet having the opportunity to have live music for you know, half of our productions. Right. So it really is a great model and a unique model to have all three art forms together, and for us to be so collaborative and to help each other out, to see, you know, how we can push each other artistically as well. When I listen to something Kathleen wants to program that's a little bit edgy, I'm like, oh, well, if you do that, then I can do this.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And then we can use that, you know, to kind of broaden the scope of what DPAA can do, you know, and the same for the Philharmonic. Like we all try to bounce ideas off of each other. And I just firmly believe that when you put any creatives in the room together, the creative energy that happens from that is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. So the ballets have been around for a long time in Dayton. I mean, I know I lived
85 years.
85
Oh,
years.
longer than that. We're approaching 88, I want to say.
Crazy. My, I don't know if you know this, my college roommate was in the Dayton Ballet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And watching that then to now, I noticed there's like a new, like, creative kind of energy to what you're bringing to the table. What are some things you see in the future of the Dayton Ballet? It'll be amazing for our population to check out.
Well, one of the things, speaking to the collaborations, the opportunity that we have, I think that my goal is to start creating new narrative ballets, new classical ballets that become quote unquote the norm, right? And I think that we have that possibility with the orchestra right here. There's, we also have opera. So what's to stop us from creating and commissioning a new opera as well that involves, ballet and orchestra that can't really be done as easily anywhere else in the U.S. Yeah, because we're all right here where we can plan this together. And so the future forward for me, especially particularly with Dayton Ballet, is a commitment to new work, because that's how we stay relevant. And I will use the word variety of choreographers and creative voices. Yeah. Not just choreographers, but designers and composers, and there's just such a wide array of creatives out there that are looking for these new collaborations. There are designers out there who have never made designs for ballet or opera that I'm interested in reaching out to and tapping into to get their perspective, their creative voice a part of it.
It's great when you think of something like that too, and you can go to a designer and say, I want this flower to be represented on stage, but I don't know how that's going to happen.
Exactly.
They can say, okay, well take over that part of it, and then kind of bring your vision to life, which is really amazing to watch.
Yeah. So one of the things that kind of opened this broader spectrum of creativity for me is when I was dancing in Louisville, and I was choreographing, and our task, so to speak, was to collaborate with a poet or spoken word artist. And for me, in my younger years, I was like, I don't want to choreograph to words, blah, 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 And what actually ended up happening was some of the most beautiful work that I created from that. And it was, well, I want to convey this, but I don't know how that works in words. And she said, don't worry, I got it. And so she went and did her thing. I didn't, micromanage or say, okay, what are you doing? Oh, I let her. She was able to be creatively free. And then when she came into that first rehearsal, like everybody was in tears because of the movement and the words together formed so beautifully. And that was just us feeling each other out.
That says a lot about your confidence, because you got to be able to be generous that way with just letting people be who they want to be, which is not easy.
Yeah, it can definitely be a challenge. Yeah. I always try to remind myself that, I know that I need space to create. So I try to give that same space to someone else, because also that's how you see, if it's going to gel or not, because some things you have to figure out if it's going to work or if you need to take a different approach. And I feel like if you're always holding tightly to someone else's creative process, then it stifles them and you don't really get to see what they're trying to say. Obviously there are budget limits, there are dancer limits, there are limitations and challenges, but I also am interested to see how people navigate that.
When did you know you wanted to get into dance? How did this
just about to ask that same question?
How did this all come to pass for you?
I started kind of dancing when I was about 14 in church. Because I'm okay. So I always preface this that I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm really proud of it.
Wow.
But I snuck from Boy Scout class because I heard this music and I was just kind of drawn to it, and I saw all of these girls dancing, and I've always loved to move. I've always loved movement, and so I started mimicking what they were doing on the side.
Here we go.
And so my dance teacher, she was like, "Are you here to be a part of the the dance ministry? And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. And I always tell my mom now, I wish I could have taken a picture of her face when she was looking for me. And here I am in my like Boy Scout uniform, like on the side, like twirling around. And she was just like, she thought I was being disruptive. And so she was like, is he being disruptive? And my dance teacher was like, no, I'm so happy that he's here auditioning. And she was like, auditioning? Like, what are we doing? But from there, you know, I started doing things here and there. And she really, my first dance teacher really pushed me. And she said, you have a gift, you need more training. So I actually ended up going to a fine arts high school in Alabama School of Fine Arts. And I went initially for math and science, because math and science was considered a fine art, or is considered a fine art.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
So I went for math and science, but I did the same thing. I would, sorry, Mom, I would sneak away in my study halls and take jazz class sometimes if I didn't have a lot of homework. And so then I switched over to dance and just immersed myself into it.
Yeah.
And then from there, went to Butler University, and I knew probably my junior year in high school that I wanted to make it a career. I didn't know what that looked like, but I knew I wanted to do it. And I knew my plan was after high school, I was going to audition for Janet Jackson and be.
Oh my God.
That's like literally.
Part of the Rhythm Nation.
Yes. Yeah. Like, this is the guy who bought the Velvet Rope tour DVD. And I could probably do all the choreography right now.
So it worked out well for you.
It worked out really well.
And have you, like, was Louisville the only major ballet company you were in, or have you done?
After college, I went back to Alabama Ballet, and I danced there, and then went to Louisville. Yep, that's where I spent most of my career.
Did you find when you started out dancing and then you started concentrating on ballet, I mean, that's a lot of technique to sort of learn, and what some people might think is like a short time, because people start dancing ballet when they're
little babies.
Even younger. For the ladies, even younger.
So did that feel kind of like overwhelming, learning like the technique of it all?
Yes, but I was like a sponge.
And some people, and I think some people have it in their DNA.
Yeah.
They just need to be told what to do.
I just knew right away that there was no, like, once I did dance, like I did gymnastics and soccer before that, but once I started dance, there was no, when my mom said, okay, you have to pick, you can't do all three, because I also said I was going to be in the 2004 men's gymnastics Olympic team. Like, that's what
lofty goals.
I did. But then when I started doing dance, I knew exactly, like, I was like, okay, soccer and gymnastics can go bye-bye. Boy Scouts couldn't, though. That was the compromise. My mom was like, you have to finish. And I said, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of my friends consider me a bunhead, because I literally was sleeping, and drinking ballet and dance.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And now you can start a fire in the woods if you ever get lost.
Tie a slip knot.
There you go.
Yeah, speaking of that, because that's a real commitment to be an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
Does it take forever to get to that status?
You have to reach Eagle by the time you're 18.
Okay.
And I literally, it was my 18th birthday, and my mom was driving me around to get the signatures for the form to fill out. I kid you not. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing that you did that. Yeah. Did you ever run one of those troops when you were done, or no?
No, I was like assistant scoutmaster for a little bit.
That's interesting.
And I loved the camping part of it. I loved like the survival trails, and I was couldn't pay me to do that now. I'm much more of the glamping person.
I was gonna say, like, because Dayton proper doesn't have much of that, but have you been able to explore any like nearby?
Not yet, but it's on my list.
There's some good hiking up in Yellow Springs.
Yes,
there's some good stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
So as part of the ballet, do you guys go out and go to schools and stuff like that to talk about what your job is?
So tell
me about that, because I know
we have a really robust learning and community engagement program at DPAA as a whole.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to do with the ballet portion of that is kind of reshape it. So it's not just I want it to be more integrated and interactive with the students. And so what we try to do is we go into schools and dancers. It's we have a program now called Who Wants to Be a Dancer, and it's kind of like a game show. Where there are questions. We are educating them and teaching them about the 5 positions or different movements and the elements of learning a dance, like learning the choreography, and then you have to rehearse it, and then you perform it, and the costumes associated with that. So we kind of made it into a game show, and we get the kids involved with that. And to my surprise, I've heard that it gets really competitive. They get really into it. And I got a video from my education manager, and there were like this group of like 10 boys that were like doing the movements with it. It was like great. I know, it's such a nice sight to see, because it wasn't like that when I was when I was growing up. So to see that type of interaction is great. So it's in its first year, so I think it's going to continue to evolve.
And even if it's just that 1, 2, 3 kids that kind of pursue that, I feel like that's enough. I mean,
we've had like a handful of students inquire about ballet classes.
That's great.
One being, a boy, and to me that's a win. Just for those inquiring minds to say, oh, I didn't think I could do that.
Yeah.
And I see someone that looks like me that has done that.
Which is such a crazy thing, because, boys, men, whatever, in ballet are so integral to the dance form. I mean, you need them.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's the strength and the discipline in something like that. If it was sort of presented to either parents or little boys or whomever, like, look what that can
because that's what kind of hooked me, is because like I said, I wasn't really interested in ballet when I first started dancing. I was going to be a Janet Jackson tour dancer, and when I started to really get into ballet, and there's all the lifting and the strength and the hardest part is making it look easy. Like that's kind of the difference, because we are athletes, but we have to, it's different than watching a sports game, because the energy you get is from hearing the grunting and seeing the struggle a little bit. And with dance, it's just a little different. You want it to look effortless.
That's I mean, I've never thought about it like that, and that's so true.
Good insight.
And either it's wrong or right. Exactly. But like as a concert dancer, in some instances, I think that is shifting a little bit with more contemporary work. Like there are people, because we do want to see that. Like a lot of people do want to see, like, that's how they connect, because that's how people understand that it's hard. Like if they can see the sweat, if they can see a little bit of the struggle. So trying to find that
like
balance.
When you see a singer and they're in that
all the belting, you're like yes, it's just it's
whereas opera, you want it to look like you're just standing there,
like but it still moves you in a different way. So like trying to find that balance in doing that is what you're trying to present. So
for sure.
And we have a pretty robust like boys program in the school right now. We have about 12.
That's great.
I was going to ask you about that. What was it like to be the boy that was the dancer? Did you go through all the things we imagine you go through?
I went through. I did, however, have a really good support system at school.
That makes all.
And because I went to an art school, I was around musicians, creative writers, visual artists that were all different. So I was very fortunate in that sense. But I went through the taunting. I went through the doubts. I went through the financial uncertainty. Like, can you really sustain yourself on a dancing job? Like that was a big concern, for my parents, understandably so. And it's not easy.
Right.
I mean, as you all know, like being an artist is not easy.
The hustle never really stops.
Right. But like you said, if it's like part of it's just, I knew I had to do it. There was just like there was no question, and there was no alternative for me, which may call me crazy. I mean, some people do, but I just knew I had to dance. And I knew, and even after, when I decided that I was going to stop performing, I knew that I wanted to stay in the field. Like there was no like, oh, I'll stop this and do something completely different. It's like, no, this is my world.
Yeah.
I remember a college professor said to us one time, if you can picture yourself doing something else, do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if this is all you see in your sights, great, pursue it. But if you can, do it, because it's a hard job being an artist.
And it's not like, sometimes it's a thankless job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sometimes it's a job that people take for granted, in the sense of, you know, we get the, oh, well, you're a dancer. Oh, well, you're an actor. Oh, you know, it's like, no, this is, it is a part of my DNA, right? Like, it's not the only thing that defines me, but it's a big part of what I do. I can't imagine doing anything else. So, and I think it takes that level of commitment.
Absolutely. We are so fortunate to have you. We really are.
I know.
Brandon, seriously, and thank you for coming by and doing this with us.
Thank you. This has been fun.
If people do want to get their kids involved, how do we find out information? And
you can go to DaytonPerformingArts.org, and there's a Learn About Us tab, and it has the ballet school, all the classes. We do offer adult classes.
All right.
Seriously.
Awesome.
So look out for that. I always tell people, and the
but you won't judge me, right? If I
never.
I will.
Maybe slightly.
That's fair.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for another episode, Brandon. Again, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you all for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you to Square One, our major sponsor. And again, to Mitosis and Tyler, who's done so much for us. He's killing it. Yes, it looks so beautiful. So we will be seeing you next time. We're hoping that in season 3, we're going to fill up these couches with all kinds of people.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be lush.
Yes, it's going to be lush. Thanks for being here. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.